It looks like probably our speaker needs no introduction based on the hugs he's been receiving on the way in, but I'm going to do it anyway. So Donzel A. Leggett is the principal at Destiny Developmental Delta LLC, a US-based international consultancy focused on executive leadership and development. He is an accomplished senior executive with over 32 years of experience leading and driving business growth at Fortune 200 consumer product companies. He holds both a Bachelor and Master of Science degrees in Industrial Technology from Purdue University, where he was an academic All-American and 3-time academic All-Big Ten football player. He also holds an MBA from Nova Southeastern University, and most importantly, he is a Key West native and a conch. And he is back to talk about his book, Make Your Destiny Happen. So please welcome Donzel Leggett.
Thank you, Emily.
I'm going to adjust
Thank you.
your mic
right.
here. Cause
Sure. Is that good? Yeah. All right, I can talk pretty loud too. I can't tell you how proud I am to be here, how happy I am at this moment. The only thing I'm just gonna try not to do is cry, because there's so many of you here that have touched my life and my heart in so many different ways. And so hopefully I can get through it without shedding tears. I am very excited to be here. I've won one book award already, and then just was notified yesterday we won a second book award. And so I'm very, very pleased and very proud of that. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little about growing up here in Key West first, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the book. And if you'd like me to read some, I will. But being here again is very, very special that I'm from here. I mean, my mom is here, which is awesome. She's right there. She doesn't look like it, but she is my mom. She's 88. She'll be 89 next month. She looks 60. I mean, she's incredible. Just absolutely beautiful. So I grew up here. Our family has been in Key West for a long time. We immigrated from the Bahamas in the mid-1800s. So we are real conchs, long-term conchs that have been here. Growing up in Key West, the first 10 years of my life, grew up really downtown. We had a family house in a lane called Enos Lane. Enos Lane is just south of Duval. We're just between Duval and Whitehead Street, off of Truman Avenue. It's a small little lane. Enos is actually the family name, one of the family names. And there was a family house that we lived in for the first 10 years of my life. So not that far from here. Then we moved to Stock Island, where I spent the next 7 years of my life. My dad worked for the phone company here, which at the time was Ma Bell. It then, turned into Bell South. But the original building that he worked at was literally right down the street here. I think it was just one block over on Eaton Street. They ended up moving to another place in Newtown, but I used to remember him going to work right around the corner from here. I grew up in a church that's on Simonton Street, again, not very far from here, called Trinity Presbyterian Church. Lots of family and friends, some of them are here tonight, that were part of that church. Growing up here, we had a lot of family. I never went to a non-family member babysitter in my life, ever. Ever. My great-grandmother basically watched me when I was little. And then my mom had to do anything, I had cousins, so never had to go outside the family for babysitting. Believe it or not, even preschool. We had an aunt named Aunt Dina, prayers for her tonight, that she actually had a preschool. And I went to my aunt's preschool. So that's the kind of childhood I had. One of my childhood friends is here, William. He'll tell you that people around town knew your parents. And they knew you. And if you did anything out of the ordinary or were somewhere you weren't supposed to be, your parents were going to get a call. And they would find out before you got home. So it was when they say it takes a village, we really did have that here in Key West. Now times have changed, and as change happens, there's some changes that occur that are great, and there's some that, you wonder about. I remember that when we'd go to church, back in those days when I was a little boy, the church would be full. I mean, 60 people, 100 people. Now, if you drive by church on Sundays at 12 o'clock when church is getting out, or 1 o'clock, it might be 5 people coming out of the church. We had a place called Bahama Village that's just south of Duval. That's where most of our folks, the people who immigrated from the Bahamas, were there. Used to be I'd come home and I'd drive down to Bahama Village. I'd see William on the corner and all the guys, and we'd say hello. You go down to Bahama Village now, and you don't know anybody. It's drastically changed. Now, we also had an airport. The airport had one flight, Miami, and that's it. Now we have an international airport. So there's some really great things that have happened. There's some things that have changed, some things that stay the same. There's Sloppy Joe's are still there. Rick's is still there. Even the pizza place underneath Rick's is still there. But the point is that over time, changes happen. And you look back at these changes and you say, geez, could I have predicted that? Could I have changed any of that? Probably not. We can't change the circumstances around us. So when I have a book that's called Make Your Destiny Happen, a lot of people ask me, how can you really say and be bold that you can make your destiny happen? And I then ask them, well, do you think you can make your destiny happen? And I pause, and then I just say, you know what? Maybe you do. And I'll ask you guys, do you think you can make your destiny happen? Maybe many of you do. But I wouldn't be surprised if some of you didn't. Or if some of you at least had some doubts. Because as I just mentioned, things change over time, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen. And that's just in Key West. If we consider the larger context of the world and the country, it's a tough time right now. If you think about the political division that we have, it's very intense. And no matter what side you're on or which way you see it, what you can't deny is we've probably never had a time that's been these bitter divisions, maybe since the Civil War. I mean, it's that divisive. It's a very tough environment for our young people to grow up in. The economic environment is not the greatest for a lot of people. A lot of people are living check to check right now, squeezed, finding it very difficult to make it. Right now, the United States has the highest credit card debt we've ever had in our entire country, $1.2 trillion of credit card debt, which is a true indication that people are strapped. If you think about some of the young people that have to deal with social media, some of you, I'm sure, are on social media as well. It's a great platform. All the information that's ever been created in the world, all the knowledge that's ever been curated, is available to you right now at your fingertips on your phone. Think about that. That's great. However, it's also a tool that's been used for a lot of negative things, reinforcing negative messages to people, playing on people's self-confidence issues. There was just a study that came out the other day that just showed that a lot of our young people are suffering from depression at a higher rate than we've seen in the past. We've also seen that, in fact, I just saw that they did a measure of, because young women are impacted even more, and they did a measure of teenage girls' confidence. And just from 2017 to today, the confidence level, 70% of teenage girls said they were confident in themselves. Today, that number is 50%. So we know that this environment, a lot of it generated on social media, weighs people down and makes them doubt themselves. And then there's AI. I don't know how many of you have tracked what's going on with AI, artificial intelligence. It's a scary thing. Right now, the biggest tech companies, the big five, they're investing like $2 trillion in AI. Like 30% of their profit is going into AI. Why? They're all in a race to try to get to super intelligence, replace humans. But if you ask them why, none of them can tell you why they're doing it, and none of them can tell you what the impact is going to be. But we're already seeing the impact. People are being laid off already. So people are worried. Gen Z, the youngest generation that we have, or the ones that are kind of in their teenage years right now, some of them in college. They did a survey of Gen Z. 50% of them feel that their degrees that they're working on right now, or they're just graduating with, will be or are worthless. Half of them feel like whatever job they choose will be eliminated in 5 years. So when you ask, do you believe you can control your destiny? There's a lot of doubts or reasons to doubt. But I'm here to tell you that you can. And that's what I talk about in the book. Well, why is that? Because yes, there are circumstances that we can't control. I couldn't control how Key West turned out, the good, the bad. But I can control one thing, what I do, how I prepare myself. What attitude do I have? How am I going to use my agency to take control of my life and do the things that I think are the right things to do? Now, again, those things are very scary. And for me to sit here and say, hey, I've been okay, I got to give you some context, right? So my well-being is really strong. I've done pretty well, but I've also had to face some challenges. Many of them probably not too dissimilar from the challenges that you faced. I've quit. I've given up before. I've lost big. I've failed. In fact, one of my biggest failures occurred right around the corner from here. I started a restaurant called Big Daddy Conk's on Green Street, across the street from Sloppy Joe's. And I enlisted my mother to help, and my sister, who's not here, who actually helped set up this event. I'm so sad she broke her finger, she couldn't be here. My mom and my sister spent months and countless hours with my partner, who was the executive chef, teaching him all the family recipes and how to convert those recipes into restaurant-ready recipes. My wife is here. She spent countless hours working on marketing and advertising. We've got a marketing expert right here. One of my best friends, Mark Addix. She spent hours trying to figure out how for us to market to cruise ships and tourists and all of these things. We did a lot of internal work in the restaurant, making it look great. But ultimately it failed. Now, I could have said, oh, you know what? It wasn't my fault. It was the fact that we had a historic hurricane season that year, and that hurt me. It was historic. Within 1 month, Hurricane Katrina came through. Who's heard of that? A month later, Hurricane Rita came through. Now, Katrina didn't hit the Keys, but everyone evacuated. Rita did hit the Keys. Tourism dropped by about 50% for that first year, and 30% the 2 years after that. So it could have been a legitimate excuse for me to say, we failed because of that. I could have went and hid somewhere, crawled under a rock. Oh man, I don't want to be seen, I failed. No, what did I do? I said, that actually was my fault. And I remember pulling out a piece of paper and listing what are the things that I did not do well? What are the things that I did do well? And what are the things I didn't do at all that I should have? And I immediately started implementing them for my next business venture down the road. Failure is the fastest path to learning, to growing, and to winning. And I took my failures, the learnings from them, the failure from my mistakes, the failures or the learnings from when I quit, when I lost, as well as when I had some successes, both in my life, but also throughout my journey leading organizations, over 10,000 people across 40 different countries. And I used all of that knowledge and developed this leadership model called the Destiny Development Delta model, which is what the book is all about, the Destiny Development Delta model. Now, it's a breakthrough approach for helping you transform your leadership, to take the agency to take control of your life, to envisioning your destiny, the destiny that you want for yourself, to establishing a life plan, and to taking the actions required in a sustained way to make it a reality, to make it your reality. What's really differential about the model, and I've gone through a lot of different self-help things, leadership things. Mark can tell you, when you're part of a big company, every year there's something new, some other leadership model that you go through. So I've seen them all. The thing that's different about mine, that I believe, is that it's specific to you. It's not a cookie cutter approach or some sort of mode that you have to adjust to. It helps you identify what you want. What's success for you? Not what's success for Donzel, not what's success for Emily, who introduced me, but what's success for you, and more importantly, what makes you happy? Because what does it matter to be successful and have money if you're not happy? You need both. And everyone has their own definition. So it helps you establish that, and then it gives you the tools to transform your leadership, and then a detailed roadmap to follow to actually make it happen. So I wrote this book to help people break out of the cycle of letting life happen to them, letting circumstances determine their outcome, and move forward to making life happen for them. You see, everyone in here, no matter what your title is, whether you're retired, whether you're the manager of a bookstore, whether you're just a grandparent trying to watch your grandkids, whether you're a cashier, a server, a teacher, construction worker, doesn't matter what your job title is or how people perceive you. What matters is that you understand you're the leader of your life. You're the CEO of your life. You are the boss. And here's the other thing, there's nobody else. Your parents aren't gonna live it for you. Your spouse or partner's not gonna live it for you. Your kids aren't gonna live it for you. It's on you. So I wrote this book hopeful that there's one person out there. It may not be you. You may have it all together. You may have it figured out, but there's hopefully one person. I believe there's at least one that needs that inspiration, that needs that message. And if I can reach that one person, then I've met my objective for this book. Now, like I said, you may not be the ones that this is touching. You know, you may feel like, I'm good. I still want to leave you with some key messages you can take away that are thematic from the book. So here are a couple takeaways that I'd ask you to really think about. The first one, really spend time getting to know your authentic self and love your authentic self and what your purpose is. A lot of us are told, hey, it's great to meditate. And meditation is great for your well-being. But I think it's also required for everyone to just think about yourself. What are your flaws? What are the things you're great at? What are your warts? A lot of us don't want to do that because it's hard. In the book, I talk about I had to do that. It wasn't easy, but it was transformative for me because I was able to love the things that I wasn't great at and accept that I had to get better at them and work on them. And the thing that it did, because I knew myself, I was able to stand, but then have confidence to stand when storms came my way, which they did. I know many of you have worked in different organizations, had jobs. You've probably been asked to, work on the plan for this year, work on the strategy for this year, or whatever those things. And you've had help doing that. How many people, how much time have you spent working on the vision you want for yourself? The plan for you? I think about it every day. My wife will tell you, I think about it every day. Spend time getting to know your authentic self and love yourself and your purpose. What are you trying to accomplish? Secondly, relentlessly develop yourself. Relentlessly develop yourself. We don't know, again, how the future is going to turn out, and we can't change the future of other things, but we can determine ours. And one of the ways to do that is to just keep adding tools to your toolbox. You never know what tool you're going to need when. You never know what key is going to open what door, but the more keys you add, the more tools you have, when things change, you are in a better position to solve that puzzle than the next person is. And so one of the things I'd ask you to do to bring this to life, the average American spends 2.5 hours a day scrolling on social media. Now, there's some of us who spend a lot more time than that. I think the average Gen Z is about 6 to 8 hours. If you add gaming in, it's probably like 14 hours for some. 2.5 hours a day over the course of a normal lifetime, let's say 75 years, is 10 years of your life. Now, also the average American only spends about 15 minutes a day just reading for pleasure or trying to learn something. Now, I'll be generous and say if you add in everything else that goes along with self-development, like I just said, reflecting on your own, sort of self and authentic self and what do I want to be, or even just physical fitness, trying to keep yourself in shape or all those things, I'd say 30 minutes. And I would bet that that's aggressive. If you say 30 minutes a day, that's less than a year of your time. So what if you flip that? What if you spent 2.5 hours every day developing yourself, learning another language, trying to figure out how AI works. What are large learning models? How do they work? Trying to learn a new skill. And only 30 minutes a day scrolling on social media. Do you think you would have a competitive advantage? So I'll leave that with you. The third one, mine for time. So what do I mean by that? Well, we all know what gold is, diamonds are. Those are things historically people have mined for to gain wealth because they're determined as rare stones, rare metals, rare materials. But the magic about gold and diamonds are that we have some, just cost money, and there's probably still some in the earth somewhere. So we continue to look for them. Same thing with rare earth metals. You've heard of these. These are what they use for computers. So they're actually gained in value almost as much as gold in some areas. Or Bitcoin. Who's heard of Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a new digital currency. Well, it's not new anymore. There's only 21 million that'll be ever minted. So people, it's rare. It's only 21 million. Look, if I lost this gold ring, my wife would be very angry. I've lost it before, but I found it. It's got a unique cut on it. But I know I could buy more gold. It'll cost me more money than it did 31 years ago. I could find a very skilled jeweler, and that jeweler could replicate this ring. If she lost her diamond ring, again, she would be very upset, but we could replicate that ring. It'll cost us more, but we can do it. The last 30 minutes you've been listening to me, you will never get that back. That's gone. I don't care if you're Elon Musk. I don't care who you are. You can't buy time back. So the question is, what are you doing with your time, and are you trying to create more time during the day, during the week, during the year to be more productive toward whatever you're trying to achieve? I can honestly tell you, I look at it that I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. And I don't know when my time's going to be up. My photographer back here was asking me, he said, you look like you played sports. I did. I played college football at Purdue University. Football is a very demanding sport. And I didn't play in the NFL, but just in college, I can tell you, 20 of my teammates have already passed away. 20 of them. Before 60. I'm 57 years old. One of them just passed away a couple of weeks ago. So the reality is there, but I also know the reality of life. As soon as we're born, we're running out of time. Time is the most precious resource we have. So I'll challenge you. What are you doing with every second, every minute, every hour of your day? And are you using it productively? If you're doing that, you will have competitive advantage. My book is here to tell you, you have the agency to create the type of life that you want, that has well-being, that has balance, to create the success and legacy that you want. Embrace the fact that you're the leader of your life. And if you do that, you can make your destiny happen. And it's never too late. But please start now. That's what I had for you tonight. Thank you. I think we had Q&A now, if I'm not mistaken, Emily.
We'll read a little bit.
You'd like me to read a little bit?
Yeah.
You know, I did select a section. I've got a couple. I'll read a really short one first, because I think it was you and I that were talking, or someone that was talking. Maybe it was in the back. Yes. We were talking about Key West and what's unique about Key West and why you keep coming back. And I said, you know, in the first part of the book, I mentioned what's unique about Key West to me. I'll just read this really quick, because this is kind of the introductory. Well, I do the introduction, then this is kind of the second chapter that starts off my story. But this first paragraph kind of puts Key West in it defines it for me. I'm originally from Key West, Florida, the southernmost point of the continental United States. Key West is a very unique place that attracts many visitors from all over the world and is home to a highly diverse population with many interesting characters. If you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. Growing up in Key West taught me to respect differences and to value all people, no matter their appearance, sexual orientation, or lifestyle. I learned early on that one should never judge a book by its cover. only its contents. So there's one little short reading. I want to find another one because I talk about my grandmother and my great-grandmother, and this one's very important to me. Okay. So the leadership model I have is made up of leadership values, which is called the A attitudes of leadership that helps you take agency to take control of your life. And I Lead Change was a detailed roadmap to follow. So the A attitudes of leadership are things like authenticity, assuredness, action and accountability, accessibility, and adoration. You can read about all of those in detail, but the bottom line is that these values were kind of manifested for me in watching my grandmother, my great-grandmother. And so I wrote in the book an example, when you see all of these values come together, what does it look like? So I'm going to read this section, and that's the context. Okay. My A attitudes of leadership role models. This one's a little longer. A few years ago, I spoke at a leadership conference as part of a panel of executives to discuss what defines great leadership. The first question was this: if you all are our leadership role models, can you tell us who were yours? One CEO said that the late U.S. Senator Paul Wellstone, because he was an inspirational progressive leader who died before his time. A COO said Steve Jobs, because he led breakthrough innovation and invention. And the CFO said Warren Buffett, because he is the financial wizard of our time. When it came to me, I said that the three previously mentioned people certainly could be considered great leaders. But in my opinion, I have three of the greatest leaders of all time as my role models. I was hoping I didn't do this. My great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother, who's here. But I told them that for the sake of time, I would speak specifically about my great-grandmother and my grandmother. Now, my great-grandmother, Vera Butler, whom we affectionately called Ma Vera, lived to be 107 years old and was the strongest person I ever knew. She was nearly 80 when I was born, but immediately started babysitting me. As I grew, I remember becoming aware that she was older, but I never saw her as elderly because she was so commanding and forceful with her will and blunt with her opinions. She never drove a car. Instead, she walked everywhere. No one ever dared to bother her. In fact, she wasn't afraid of anything or anyone. She was extremely self-assured. I learned many valuable life lessons from her that I carry with me today. She taught me the value of education because she never had the opportunity to formally finish hers. She had to quit school in the 6th grade to start working. Every day, she would teach my cousins and me math lessons on the school board, which is what she called it. The school board was a 2x2 piece of plywood on which she had written out the times tables. She would tell us how much things had changed since she was a little girl and how her future had been extremely limited based on her race and gender, but that we now had the chance to do things or to do the things that she couldn't have imagined if we simply focused on education and we worked hard. She taught me the importance of understanding the value of money and the discipline of frugality, saving, and protecting your assets. She'd owned her own home since at least 1934, an incredible feat at the time, and was meticulous about its upkeep and maintenance. Very prudently, she spent money only on true necessities. If anyone, no matter who, tried to touch or move her purse, she would immediately slap their hand. Most importantly, she taught me that there were no excuses. She would often tell me, no one is better than you, but you are not better than anyone else. It's about who works harder. My grandmother, Yvonne Allen, whom we affectionately called Mummy Yvonne, also ended her formal education in middle school, quitting in her teens to enter the workforce like her mother, Mavira. I didn't spend as much time with her as I did with Mavira because she was still working when I was a child. She raised 9 children. She and my grandfather saved all the pennies that they had. Through their determination, courage, and faith, they were able to buy their first home in 1965. Again, this was an incredible feat for a maid and a laborer at that time. I remember being amazed by how hard she worked. She believed that if you're going to do a job, then you should hold yourself accountable to do it the right way, the best way, even if that is the hardest way. For example, when she mopped the floor at both her own home and where she worked, she always cleaned by hand, not with a mop, inch by inch on her elbows and knees, causing them to always be dark and calloused. She believed that no matter what you do, you should have pride in your work, but it should not determine who you are. She taught me that whether you are a wet nurse, a maid, a store owner, the mayor, or an executive at a big company, it's not your job that defines you. It's your authentic character. Neither Mummy Yvonne nor Mavira were highly educated, and both held jobs that many would consider among the lowest in a class-driven society. But nevertheless, they had incredible self-value, self-worth, and spiritual well-being. Because of their authenticity and self-assuredness, they never let their job titles, education, or anyone's perception or prejudgments define them. They held themselves accountable to a higher standard and modeled, trained, and taught us to be determined, resilient, and self-assured. They took action as the leaders in our family, in the church, and in the community, and they were pillars of strength for everyone when things were tough. They were accessible and showed compassion and love to anyone who required help, sharing what little they had with those in need and treating them like family. When I reflect on who I am today and why, it's clear to me that it was the lessons of the A attitudes of leadership that I gained from them that helped shape me. Authenticity and assuredness. Never let any person, group, or organization, or company define who you are. Develop self-agency, believe in yourself, and be a leader. They stood tall, no matter what people thought of them. They had 2 of the lowest level jobs in our society, but they did not let that define them. Instead, their strength, courage, and determination did. Accessibility and adoration. Treat people the way they need to be treated, like your family. Always be willing to help, support, and stand up for others who can't stand up for themselves. Action and accountability. No one is better than you, but you are no better than anyone else. The difference is how much you hold yourself accountable to work hard. They didn't have the chance to focus on education and continuous learning, but I did. And if I could combine those with the tremendous work ethic and determination they had, I could accomplish anything. Nothing could stop me from striving to be the best and controlling my own destiny. She succeeded in making me cry. So, any questions? Yes, Justin.
Hey, Donzel. I just want to say what a great speech you had.
Oh, thank you, man.
I was really motivated during your speech, but what I noticed about motivation, it's always short term. And I have many obstacles and excuses I always make that keep me from being motivated. So my question for you is, how do you stay on your path, and how do you stay motivated?
Great point. I talked about really spending time with yourself, determine what you really want. If you don't have that clear in your mind, it's hard to stay motivated and stay focused because you're always chasing something that either is something that someone else maybe wanted for you, or something that you think kind of that you wanted because you saw somewhere, or that you're following a path that maybe you just kind of fell into. You really need to spend the time to figure out what is it that you truly want. Once you find that, and that's why I always say spend time thinking, talk to yourself. My mom will tell you, I used to talk to myself all the time as a kid, and I still do now. I'm the best friend I have. Sorry, Tracy, I'm my best friend. And you should be. You have to talk to yourself to understand what is it you truly want. There's things that are called intrinsic motivations and extrinsic motivations. If you're motivated by things that are outside of yourself, that really you don't have, it's not your purpose, it's very difficult to stay focused, especially when things get tough. But if it's something you really want, and it's the purpose that you want in life, when things get tough, you're gonna continue to stand and fight through it. You may have a setback here or there, but you're gonna continue to get up and keep going. So my advice to you, like I said earlier, find the time, mind for time. I know you've got a lot going on, you're busy. Find the time to think. Write down your goals. What do you want? What are you about? What are you trying to accomplish with your life? When I was 25, I don't know how old you are, Justin, how old are you? 20. So when I was 25, I thought about where did I want to be in 40 years? Because I was kind of at a crossroads and I had to make, what am I going to do? And I thought about where I wanted to be. And it took several days for me to figure that out. But eventually I was able to determine where I wanted to be, how I wanted to feel, and what I wanted my legacy to be, what I wanted people like you to think about me. And then I started working back in 5-year increments till I got all the way back to 25. And that allowed me to have this life plan that I talk about in the book. So when things got tough, things didn't go the way I wanted them to, I was able to go back to, what am I doing this for? What's my purpose? And that gave me the energy, the fight to keep going. So spend that time with yourself. That'd be my advice to you. Great question. Thanks, Justin. You're always good for the first question. Other questions?
I'll do one.
Yes.
As someone who's stepping into a leadership role at work, that's something fairly new for me, I guess.
Yes.
How important do you think it is for mentorship? That's really hard to come by, at least for me. And I went to a conference recently, and that was one of the major topics, is how important it is to have mentorship and having different types of mentors. So I wonder if that plays a role outside of what you discussed of being family, just specifically to what your goals are or work.
Extremely important. In the book, I actually talk about that. As part of development. It's very difficult to develop yourself without coaches. And in this case, mentors. I have a mentor in the room right now, one of my mentors. This gentleman right here helped mentor me in my career. And I'm very, very thankful for his mentorship. And what I would say though is, even though at that time Mark was a senior leader, mentors can be anyone. One of the things I talk about in the book is, what I call the multi-level mentor. Meaning, no matter where you are in life, there's going to be people who may be junior to you or senior to you or the same level. You may have nephews, nieces, or kids that are kind of younger than you, cousins, aunts, uncles, and parents who are older than you. A lot of times we think mentors can only be those who are above us, older, more experienced, that type of thing. My view is we should always be cultivating a mentor network for anything you don't know. A 16-year-old kid could be your mentor. They know something you don't know, but yeah, they can be your mentor. Your specific question though, going into leadership, clearly, if you haven't been in leadership before, certainly finding someone that you trust, that you have confidence in, that you can tell the truth to, and that will have your back is important. So finding those mentors is great. Do you have any mentors in mind? Are there people that you know?
I think it's the trusting factor that probably is the blockage.
They don't have to necessarily be leaders in your career field.
Right.
They might be an administrator at a school. They might be someone who's run a school program before. I know one right here that's been a leader for a long time. So my point would be, don't immediately think that a mentor has to be this one demographic. Leadership, again, all of us are leaders in our own lives. I tell a story in the book about who my investment mentor was that taught me really the ins and outs of investing. And believe it or not, it was a janitor. He was the janitor in the place. I was kind of the boss there. He was in the lowest level job. And I tell the story about how he used to always walk around with a Fortune magazine in his back pocket. And most people there assumed he just used it for a dustpan. No one asked him. No one talked to him. So without mentorship, the first thing I say about leadership is just get to know people. And sometimes you'll find mentors where you weren't expecting them to be. So what did I do? I always go around and try to meet everyone because I just started there. So I want to get to know everyone, work across all shifts, talk to everybody. So one day I went up to, his name was Leroy. Well, that's the name I gave him in the book. That's not his real name. But I went up to Leroy and I said, hey, Leroy, you're always carrying that Fortune magazine in your back pocket, man. What's all about? He said, oh, you don't want to know nothing about that, young buck. Yeah, I do want to know. He said, are you serious? I said, yeah. I said, well, he said, why don't you come in 10 minutes? I'm going to be taking a break and we could talk about it. So 10 minutes later, I went and talked to him. And the first thing he said was, I've carried this magazine in my back pocket for 10 years. Nobody has ever asked me about it, ever. He said, so the first thing I want to tell you is thank you for noticing me and treating me like a person. He then went on to tell me how he's got a portfolio worth over $1 million. I had no idea who that Berkshire Hathaway, that company existed. You know, I didn't know anything really about blue chip stocks. I just knew, you know, invest in the company stock in the 401k and it'll take care of itself. He took me through investment 101. Gave me an assignment for that night. Go home, study these stocks, come back tomorrow. I did that, came back the next day. He said, man, you really did a great job. Now here's what I want you to do. He said, but hey, before you do anything else, get yourself a financial planner because you got a young family. You need to make sure you're doing things the right way. The point of the matter is, I would have never even thought to go to Leroy for financial advice.
Huh.
But because I took the time to get to know him, I found out that he had expertise I didn't have. So my advice to you would be start building your network, talking to people, getting to know them, even people who you're going to be supervising. You never know what information they may have for you. People that are maybe peers, you just never know. So navigate your network, cultivate it, bring people in. You'll find some people that can help you. And you'll find where there's trust. Yeah. Another question from Justin.
Yeah, I got another question. So I know in mentorship, the first step of mentorship is networking. So I know how important networking is in my age group.
Yeah.
I know people struggle with networking because they say they're introverts.
Yes.
Do you believe in introverts? And if so, like, my question for you is how do you get out of your shell? And how do you, basically how do you get out of your shell and want to connect with other people without being like inside?
Yeah. No, great question. So do I believe that they're introvert? Well, yeah, I believe that some people are introverts. Yes, that's a real thing. And it's actually more defined for the younger generation, your generation, because you guys grew up with technology that insulated you from having to have interpersonal connections in real life, like personally. So it's even more pronounced there. So I understand what you're saying. I'm going to go back to what I told you earlier. You have to figure out what is that you want. Once you figure that out, then you'll understand you're going to have to make some sacrifices, some trade-offs. What are you willing to sacrifice? So I'll tell you, for me, you know, I grew up in Key West, went to Purdue. My first job was in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, middle of the country. I'd never been there except, well, I've been there twice in Iowa, but it was to play football games. Didn't know anything about it other than that. All right? But I also knew I had a plan, what I was trying to get done. And I understood for me to get that plan, to execute it, I had to build a network. I didn't know anyone, I had to build a network. So I had to get out of my comfort zone. So I kind of put together a plan. Every day, I'm gonna introduce myself to 10 new people. And I'm gonna find out 3 unique things about them. And the next day I'm gonna go back and ask them about those things. Or the next week, I'm gonna go back and ask them about those things. I just kept filling out that list. What did that do? Why did that help me? Because it forced me to look at it more like a task than an emotional connection. Emotional connection was built over time. But because I was a little nervous at the time, you know, to be honest, there's not that many brothers in Iowa. I mean, I'll just tell you that right now. There's not a lot. In Cedar Rapids, where I was in this plant, I mean, there was like 1,100 people. I think there was like maybe 50 people of color. I mean, so it was a very unique, and I grew up in Key West. I mean, so I grew up around a lot of diversity, but that was overwhelming. So I had a choice to make. Am I gonna just, kind of get myself and kind of hunker down and be scared? And no, I'm gonna get to know people. I'm gonna put my best foot forward because I've got a plan, and to get to that plan, I need these people. And I'm gonna show them that they need me. I'm gonna show them I can help them. And that's what I did. So make yourself give a task, find a way to hold yourself accountable. I'm gonna just meet 3 people today. Start with that. I'm gonna introduce myself to 4 more people tomorrow. And I'm gonna get to know a couple of things about them. And next week, I'm gonna follow back up with them. If you want it bad enough, you'll do it. Look at it as a task, not emotional connection. Eventually, it'll become an emotional connection. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is it the same way for like being scared of rejection?
Say it again.
I say, is it the same way of being scared of rejection? Because I know a lot of people, they're scared of rejection, and that's why they don't take that next step.
Again, the fear of failure holds so many people back from learning, achieving, and winning. Failure is the fastest way. Mistakes, failures, losses is the fastest path to learning, succeeding, and winning. Because in every failure, you have an opportunity to learn. It's the reason why most people can't learn languages. So people say kids can learn languages really easily and adults can't. Well, it's partly true, but partly not. It's true because kids don't fear failure, because it's a choice for them. I either going to want to play with this kid, or I want to figure out a way to fit in and play, or not. And so if they want to play, they got to learn the language. And so they're not afraid to make mistakes because that's the only way to play. But adults, we let pride get in the way. We don't want to make mistakes. So we'll rather hold ourselves back and stay away from everyone. So how did I learned 2 languages as an adult. I learned Spanish and Portuguese. And the way I had to learn those, I forced myself to use those languages. So I managed to plan a couple organizations in Mexico. So I told them, every time we have our financial call, we had one every other week, we're gonna do it half in English, half in Spanish the first month. The next month, it's gonna be all Spanish, but if I don't understand, I'm gonna stop you. The third month, it's gonna be all Spanish and I gotta figure it out. Then I would go there once a month, literally go to Mexico. And the first visit, the same thing, 50-50. Second visit, kind of like, I'm gonna ask questions. Third visit, I'm on my own. And I said, I want you to challenge me. I want you to hold a big sort of town hall, and I'm gonna give a speech in Spanish. I can't tell you how many mistakes I made. The headaches that I would have at the end of the night, and I was there for a week one time. Oh my gosh, my head was killing me every single night, translating in my head. And I kept feeling so bad. I'm making all these mistakes. I'm not doing well. It's terrible. But what did people say to me? Donzel, everyone loves you. Why? Because you're not afraid to speak our language. You don't care if you look like you're not saying it the right way. How do you think we feel when we have to speak English? See, I'm now getting off track, but Americans, we don't like thinking about that. We don't really care a lot of times. But it's so hard to speak a second language and have to be doing it well and to not make mistakes. So what I'd say, Justin, is get over that fear. Again, it's back to how bad do you want it? My nephew plays drums here, and he and I talk all the time about his goals. And eventually he said, I know what you're gonna say, Uncle. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? I wanted to connect with that team badly because I knew if I connected with them, the strategies we were trying to implement, we'd make it happen. But I had to sacrifice. I had to be willing to bring myself down and to make those mistakes. So if you want it bad enough, you'll overcome that fear. Yeah. Oh, I thought you had another question.
You know what? I will ask it.
Hold on, she has. So the new Yuma has a question.
Yeah.
How was it like going to the leadership position as a person of color? Having to struggle?
Great question. I have really some powerful stories in here about that. Powerful, powerful stories. The best way I could just describe it for me was that, again, I had gone through this process of having a very specific goal in mind of what I wanted to accomplish. I got to take a step back. Let me take a step back. So I had a situation happen to me that I didn't understand at the time, but I learned later. So when I played college football, I played obviously with a lot of different people on your team, a lot of different folks, and I didn't understand how much my teammates looked up to me. I didn't really see it until afterwards. So what do I mean by that? I mean that I could have done more than I did. I was a good player, I was a good student, I was a good leader, but I didn't do what I could have done. Like I could have, instead of us going and drinking beer on Saturday night, I could have said, let's go to the athletic facility and let's watch film for a couple hours, then go drink beer. I didn't do that. I could have said after practice, hey, let's stay out here and let's work on some additional things. We weren't a winning team. I was doing well, but the team wasn't winning. I could have done that. I didn't because I didn't think I had the authority or the credibility with the players. So what happened is after I stopped playing, all my teammates started telling me how much they looked up to me. And a lot of them were the white guys that I didn't really have great relationships with. I didn't know them that well, but they all said, man, we looked up to you. We really respected you. So I realized, geez, I screwed that up. I could have made a difference and I didn't. So when I got to Iowa, and it tells a story in the book of how I became the manager, the people basically convinced management to make me the leader. So the story's in the book. But once I got into that role, I made up my mind that I was gonna focus on doing everything I could to get great results, but to make everyone's lives better, to put everybody in a better position. And I knew in the back of my mind, I'm like the first black manager that any of them have ever had, and they probably didn't like that. But my focus was be my authentic self, bring the best me there every day, and prove to them that I'm here not only to get great results, but to make them better and to make their situation better. I never, ever, ever talked about me being different or bright. None of that ever came up. The stories you read in here shocked me when I was leaving and they told me the impact that I had on them. So what I would tell you is anything that's different about you, don't let that be the thing that you're leading with. Everybody's different. Everyone's got issues. Everyone's got problems. Everyone's got things that they're worried about. Be the best leader you can be and focus on them. Get to know them. What makes them tick? What's in it for them? If you value that, you'll realize everybody's the same. I've worked with people in Tennessee. I've worked with people in Southern Ohio, California, Mexico, Brazil, India, Greece. People are all the same. They sound different, they look different, but they're the same. They want to be looked at as a person, not a number. They want to be valued. They want someone who cares for them. They want someone who's authentic with them. And they want the best for themselves and their families. If you can do those things, they're not going to care what you look like. That's what I experienced. And I was in some of the most difficult locations I can tell you that I've led in, where they didn't have anybody look like me before. And I was very, very successful and beloved. So if you read the book, by the way, the audiobook's coming out early next year. So for those of you that don't like to read, the audiobook will be coming out soon. But thank you for that question. And again, when you read the book, you'll see there's several stories in there that highlight that. What other questions? Well, Emily, do we want to start signing some books? I do want to thank Emily and the studios of Key West for hosting this event. Thank you. This has been unbelievable. The view is incredible. I mean, this is what a venue this is. I did mention that my older sister was actually the one who set this up. She called Emily, told Emily about my book. And I think Judy Bloom founded the bookstore. She's not here tonight, but Emily runs the show. And my sister Lynn would have been here. Unfortunately, making Thanksgiving dinner, she had a mishap, fell and broke her finger. And she has to have surgery tomorrow to repair that break. But I think she's watching. My wife is streaming it. So I just want to thank Lynn, because without her, this would not have happened. Just a wonderful thing. So please thank Lynn. And thank you all for your support. Hopefully, you got a chance to feel my passion and my energy. And, this is something I really believe in. I really believe that all of us need something to help us when times are tough. And I do think that these are really uniquely tough times. And I'm very fearful for our young people in particular. And so I see them here, and I really want them to understand. Justin, Emily, who's that next to you, Justin? Is that Kenneth? Kenneth, great to see you here. Yuma, I think you're I want you guys to know, if you have any other questions, if you need any other help, call me anytime. Text me anytime. You all have my number. Kenneth, you've heard this from me before, specifically. I'm here for you guys. We all want you to succeed. Whatever you need, we got you. So thank you, and I'll resign some books. Yes, Julian, how you doing? You got a question?
Listen, I'm just really proud of you because coming from Key West and this type of what you stand for. It's just a small example, just hearing a little bit of what you're talking about. Make sure that I read that book. Coming from Key West, should give everyone, especially students from Key West, that anything is possible. I'm just really, really proud. The impact not only that you make in Key West, the impact that you make in the world. To show you, what I'm saying, the hard work that you put in. So, because I'm coming from Key West, I feel like my family, and just like, it's possible.
Yes.
So if you're really afraid and you're really not sure, you can look at Donzel A right there, man. And just be inspired. I'm really honored. I'm proud of you, like I said, John words. Not only you left your imprint here, you left your imprint in many lives that you spoke about, that you touched all around this world. And God bless you.
Oh, thank you, Julian. That's my cousin. I want to really thank him. So just a reminder, audiobook is coming out for those of you who don't like to read. Audiobook, and I did it. I'm the one that recorded it. I still have a voice, so it was hard. But and one of the things you could do a favor for me, if you buy the book, whether you even buy it here, you still could go on Amazon, even if you didn't buy it from them, and put a review in. And I'm trying to get to 200 reviews. I think right now I'm at 112. So that would be fantastic if you could do that for me as well. Visit our website, have a YouTube channel, I've got some podcasts out there. And I'll make this big announcement. So I talk about you can't change, the things around you, those circumstances, but you can change what you want to do. And you can always achieve what you want. It's never too late. All right, one of the dreams I had, my mom will tell you when I was younger, I wanted to be a rapper. Dilly probably knows this too. I wanted to be a rapper, but I had to make sacrifices because I had a family, I needed money, I needed a job. So I said, I'm gonna put that in the back burner. I'm gonna be releasing a rap song about the book. About the book. I actually am when I get back to Chicago, I'm gonna be laying down the lyrics at the studio. I've got a sound engineer working on the tracks. So please wait for it. Make Your Destiny Happen rap. I'm telling you, it's gonna be hot. You heard it first. I broke the news here. No one knew that today. You guys got the news first. So thank you. So I'll sign books. Whoever wants their book signed, I'm here to do it. Yes.
What's your rap name going to be?
For this one, it's just my name, because it's all about this one. But when I was here, I used to rap in high school. It was Playboy Leggett. I was in high school. All right, I'll sign some books. Thank you, everyone, for coming.